From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight with Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight as we cruise through the offseason. And the Broncos, of course, we're starting to get a little bit of the schedule coming out. The full schedule comes out this Thursday, so we're looking forward to seeing what the Broncos schedule actually stacks up, finding out about the Christmas game, Broncos, Rams. It's going to be very exciting. Looking forward to seeing the Broncos playing the defending Super Bowl champions on Christmas Day. But one of the things that I thought about after when I saw that is like, it's probably good news for the Broncos that they're playing the Rams when I expect the offense to really be gelling at that point, right? You're playing a team that's going to be a contender, and you want to be firing on all cylinders or close to it. We might expect the Broncos offense to start the season to have some struggles. I was wondering, and we had this conversation on Broncos Country Tonight, the radio show, about how Nathaniel Hackett can maybe help Russ Wilson, help the offense early on in the season. Is there anything he can do to help them out to maybe give Russell Wilson some opportunities to find success early on?
Well, I mean, as a coach, your job is to put everybody in the best position to succeed as possible. I think really what Nathaniel Hackett can do is make sure that the coaching staff is all on the same page and have all their processes streamlined, that everything that they're doing in game is efficient, getting the play calls in as quickly as possible, those kinds of the personnel packages in as quickly as possible, those kinds of things. And those are sometimes tough for a new coaching staff to kind of get those kinks worked out a little bit. And in terms of on the field play, I mean, getting them the maximum amount of reps to do the things they're good at. I think that Russ Wilson has really taken it upon himself to have guys out, obviously, to his San Diego home. And as soon as they get the field built here in Denver, is Denver home, and getting the reps in, knowing the athletic profile of these guys, knowing how fast they are, knowing if I put the ball here, can this player run up there, run under it, and get it. On scramble drill, knowing where they're supposed to be. If he wants them to go deep or somebody to come back for the ball, somebody to be underneath, somebody to a running back to come out in front and be a lead blocker for his legs, and then check and release to become a receiver after he makes his block. So just getting used to those little things, I think, are things that is incumbent on the players. I don't know if Nathaniel Hackett himself needs to necessarily coach that, but the plays are going to be drawn up so that everybody knows what they're supposed to do and what Russ likes to do.
Well, because we've talked about before with Russell Wilson and his improvisational skills, and we know that he likes to hold the ball a bit. So there's a little bit of developing chemistry with the receivers. It's also developing chemistry with your offensive line. And those guys knowing what Russ Wilson wants to see on the field and what he's looking at when he sees the defense, whether it's right off the bat what the play that's called or what's going to happen after the fact. We talked about in the past how Tyler Lockett, the scramble drill for Tyler Lockett was run deep post. Like that, hey, that's your job because I'm going to throw it up to you if we're in a scramble. Well, are they going to do the same thing here? Is there going to be other options there? I think what I'm asking about with Nathaniel Hackett is, are we going to see some more safety valves early on for Russell Wilson when he gets into scramble drill? Maybe you're fine. Go ahead and use your legs and do what you can. But at the same time, we know he likes to move around back there in the backfield. Is that more an opportunity to say, hey, we're going to give some opportunities with the running backs who are both very capable of catching passes out of the backfield? These tight ends, you've added to the tight end room. Is that going to be more of the way Nathaniel Hackett can help this offense early on? Well,
I think that they can all get on the same page and draw some things up. They just need to. They all need to be on the same page as far as what happens when the play breaks down. And you can coach a little bit of that. I think you draw up a little bit of that, but ultimately it's what Russ wants. Does he want that running back in the flat to become a blocker so he can use his legs? Does he want that tight end to come back across and come back to the ball while everybody else is going deep? And they'll work that out. Those are things that as you figure out what guys can do, Tyler Lockett can burn you with his legs. And that's the idea. The idea that he runs for the post just makes sense for a speedster like that because that's what's going to happen. Eventually, he's going to get away from you. Put a double move on, go back the other direction. If it's one-on-one in the open field, I mean, a guy that's that fast and that quick is ultimately just going to shake himself open, and then Russ can throw him the ball. Figuring out what it is that Cortland and Tim and Judy and KJ and all these guys, what they do best, I think is for Russ what's going to make this thing work, because you do want to play in structure, but Russ has a tendency to, when the play breaks down and by time like that, and part of that was a bad Seattle line, part of that's the nature of his game. So I think just being together, understanding each other's attributes and limitations, and then figuring out how best to maximize them is really where you're at with that.
And of course, a lot of that takes reps, as we've talked about.
Yeah, it just takes doing it with each other. It just takes having the football reps with each other and going out and doing the darn thing, because you just can't guess at that. You don't know how fast a guy is till he goes and runs around and you throw the ball. Okay, now I see where he's at. You can see time, speed, but guesstimating that just doesn't work.
What about reps for the offensive line? Because we know there's competition in several spots along the offensive line. And certainly all of those guys are going to get some time even into training camp. But is it incumbent potentially to try to make this decision as fast as possible, because those guys getting time with Russell Wilson on the field and getting the reps with understanding what he's looking for and where his tendencies are, that feels like it's important too.
To a degree. I mean, you do need that offensive line to gel and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think as far as the blocking goes, I think Russ is more a read and react guy. I'm looking at what the blocking is doing. Now I need to figure out where I'm going to go with my legs rather than wanting something specific. He'll tell the tackles he wants them to kick him to the outside so that he can escape, in that gap if when you widen the circle, but or the rush arc. But at the end of the day, you're read and react on the blocking. You can tell them kind of what you like, but they have their backs turned. They don't know what you're doing, and somebody getting free might alter your scramble pattern. You don't know what's going on. So I think for gelling together as an offensive line, that's valuable, and you want to have somebody. You want to have your offensive line done and ready by the second preseason game. Know what it is, but I think it's a little less important than getting on the same page with the pass catchers on what's going to happen when the play breaks down.
So then on that conversation, is it incumbent for the offensive line to get on the same page with Russell Wilson, as in, does Russ have a say a little bit in who's playing in that, hey, I feel more comfortable because this guy's really doing the things out there that I'd like, that helps me do my job?
I think Nathaniel Hackett will solicit his input privately. I think he
makes
will.
sense, right?
Yeah, I think he will. The coaches will get the tape and they'll know, but they'll probably defer and ask Russ, privately, kind of how are you feeling about this situation, and allow that input to factor into their decision and go from there. I think that's just a smart thing. I think if the competition is close and and he's feeling one guy, I think that's the thing. I don't think it's going to be particularly close. I think somebody is going to shake out and be the person, and I think that's ultimately how it works. And they're just going to earn it.
Well. Sure. There's a couple spots where I might disagree with you only slightly, but that's only, again, because, say, like Lloyd Cushenberry is the incumbent. He's the guy that's been working with Russ all offseason, yet we know for a fact that Graham Glasgow is going to be in a competition there. So is that considered close, or is that considered not so close because Lloyd Cushenberry has had struggles with previous quarterbacks?
Well, we're talking about the before of a competition and the after. It's if you're having a competition on before, it's always close because it's before the competition. That's fair. I just feel like that Graham Glasgow and his experience and his strength will probably win that job versus Lloyd. We'll see. I mean, you never know. Plus, Graham got dinged up a little. Maybe he gets hurt. You never know. And then over at the right tackle position, you got three guys. I have someone I think is going to win the job. We'll see how that shakes out ultimately.
Yeah. And I'd say it's really, my perspective, more about really kind of two guys. I think Tom Compton's probably your swing guy that can play multiple positions. I think it really kind of comes down to Billy Turner and Calvin Anderson. And Calvin Anderson, as we have an incumbent conversation, is the guy that's at least been around the facility longer.
Been around the guy. Billy has experience here, but he's been around the facility longer, and been around the guys longer. And I think that I would call him the favorite at this point, even though Billy Turner has the money in the contract.
All right. Look forward to it coming up this season. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight.